join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This check register, Andrew, is this a different one than one was in the package, isn't it? Just a revised one? Oh, we didn't, I'm sorry.
Can I see the invoices?
There's only one check register.
Are you still looking at it?
No, go ahead, I'm looking at the check register.
I'm all done.
I just want to see where all the Amazon stuff is.
Just even those budget sheets. I got you. Oh, yeah.
Andrew, what are we using the handheld GPSs for?
I can answer that. This is for the sixth grade program they're doing in GPS and land location coordinates and things of that nature. They had some in the building years ago, but somehow they've disappeared and had to replenish.
Thank you.
Do you know that off the
No,
top of your-
he didn't know. We're just saying thanks.
You know what the library resources are?
The library resources regarding.
Follett Library Resources? You know what that happens to be up to?
I take your books.
Maybe there's no description on there at all, Steve?
No, just library resources.
Or it will be, I can look on the check itself.
Yeah, I just wonder whether you had it. And I didn't
Off the
look.
top of my head, I try to keep abreast of that, but sometimes there are a few that slip by.
Any of those?
No.
Those were you said yesterday to go.
I'll try harder next time. Oh, books.
Yeah, I believe it's e-books.
Mm-hmm.
The final.
Yep, all the books she bought.
Joey Pig's
Joey Pigs as a crazy kid.
That's your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Funds come to the state, and the state gives us the monies.
Equal amounts to every state?
No.
Or they have population?
Based on students. It's based on enrollment numbers as well as your free and reduced numbers.
Keeping up with the scores, average scores and stuff like that, does that have any weight on the amount of money? Is it
Not those entitlements.
Everybody all set on the manifest? Anybody want to make a motion to approve the manifest?
Make a motion to approve the manifest?
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes of the last meeting. The last page, third paragraph, the last sentence, none should not, should be non, not none. And there's another one, as well as it.
Third paragraph down, Brandy. Nope, further up. One more. Yep, at the end, non-public. Yep.
Is that the second one? There's two.
Yeah, same paragraph, the last sentence.
Right, but I saw,
So, but right before that, you have the last sentence, but you also have the
Oh, yeah, okay.
the third sentence in,
right,
and it says none again, non-public again, when it should say non-public.
the second, the second sentence, second line of the third paragraph and the last line of the third paragraph.
And then I just have this one. Do you have any more?
No, that's all I have.
Miss Brandy, on the first page, under public present, it just states the 4 people present, and then it says and.
Oh,
And I didn't know if
I don't know his name. I should email this.
Ed Comeau.
That guy's name? He hasn't given you a card yet?
As amended, I'd like to make a motion to accept the public board meeting minutes of Wednesday, October 16th with corrections.
I'll second that motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. Good.
Mr. Tursi, do you mind if I say something about our offer that we have?
Oh, no, not at all. Please do.
Ms. Hawkins asked me to speak to you all. We had an author today from the Alligash, a New England author. His name is Tim Caverly, and I'll have some papers you can pass around. He presented to the 5th grade class one of the books that he wrote called The Haunting. and the students were very interested in what he had to say, as well as he presented a video and then a CD reading of the story that he had written. And we'd just like to mention that we were really pleased. The students were interested, and they would like to have him come back in the spring for another presentation about a tour down the Alligash, if it's possible. And if we have any PTA members or PTO, I don't know if we have a new group doing that yet. If we could show them this brochure and possibly help him visit some other schools and all. But what I'd also like to do, if I may, is just read a short thank you note from one of the students to him. This is from Ben Gosling. Thank you for coming to our classroom and sharing your book. I loved it and it was very exciting. Hope you come again. I liked when the ghost in the story had talked to the main character. I loved the adventure and how the characters acted and the places they had gone to. So he involved the children with the story, and it wasn't just hear my story and see the pictures. He also talked to them about literacy and different forms of writing in the classroom, as well as the difference between legends and fables and other things. And so it was very educational for them. And we enjoyed it, and maybe you would enjoy looking at some of their books. I did bring them. I can leave them for you to look at in a little bit. Can you pass that down? That also went with that. You can tear off my green note, please. They're very nicely illustrated, and they could be suitable for the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. He's done a program, and that is mentioned on this paper I passed out, that would include the other grades. So it isn't just one section of children it might involve. It can be done for more. So thank you. Yes?
Do you have an idea when you'd like to return?
In the spring, a tour down the Alligash is what that would be presented at that time.
Good, Mom.
I am happily able to tell you that there is a new PTA present in the building.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
maybe Mr. Gregoire could give you more information on when they meet.
Okay.
And
That would be nice.
Are the books in the library?
They are purchased for the library. Possibly you have them today.
We purchased them today.
Yeah.
Nice.
A set, yeah.
I
Wonderful.
bought these, and then the library is getting them.
I would love to be invited if he comes back in the spring.
Wonderful.
Anytime an Arthur comes in, I would love to
Okay.
be able to come in and share that with the kids, so I know how good the experience is for them as well.
Great.
I would love
I'll
that.
let Ms. Hawkins know. She was very pleased, and hope, we could pass this on anyway, and everybody should be able to enjoy it, not just our class.
Yes, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good, so,
I just wondered, do you still have a 5-member board? I noticed Noah's been missing the last 3 meetings.
as far as we know, she has new job in Massachusetts, and she's having a hard time getting back in time, and it's supposed to be, she's gonna be supposedly working from home, so.
But we do have policy that covers an absentee board member. So if they, for some reason, can't be here, they, policy BBBB was instated a few years ago, and some of them are just stuck in traffic. There's been a big traffic jam.
Is it public comment? All right, correspondence. Any correspondence, Mr. Tursi?
Yes, sir.
The new business we're gonna put off the next meeting. Administration, financial reports, Andrew.
You have your expense report through the end of October. Does anybody have any questions on that? The revenue report as well as through the end of October. They should be setting the tax rate this month, so that I'll be able to form the budget numbers. And the grant report is also through October 31st. Any questions about any of those three reports? You have your reconciliation for the general account, both from the treasurer and the SAU. I thought I would have the student activity account to bring tonight, but it will be available at the next meeting or next business meeting. I just received it this afternoon. I didn't have the time to go over it. Is the current board aware of what the food service account is here in town at Profile Bank, what the reasoning for that account is?
For the reason to have Profile Bank, isn't it a holding account?
It's just that our cafeteria can make deposits daily in the bank, because our regular bank is all the way in Farmington. So what I do on a monthly or a semi-monthly basis is transfer the money from Profile over to TD Bank, to the general fund account.
It's been a holding account for a long time, hasn't it?
No, about a year and a half maybe.
Okay.
I have a little information on the outstanding account receivable balances for food service. Any questions on that?
I guess I just want to make sure, Andrew, that staff is on board with the policies and that those letters are being sent home.
And if any of the student goes into a negative balance, Ruth, who's the cafeteria director for cafe services, is sending a note home with the student. If no response to that, then a formal letter is written to them. And once the balance goes over $20, then it's turned over to Jerry, who sends a letter.
Are you making phone calls to go along with that,
Just
Jerry?
I'm just sending out letters right now, Bonnie.
Are you attaching the additional choices that they have, like to
We had some people.
myschoolbucks.com and then to fill out the other...
For some families, we're sending out in the free and reduced forms.
Yep.
We're trying to figure, a lot of stuff.
Maybe you want to do that to all, because it's even, some of the ones that you wouldn't expect it can fall on hard times too.
Yeah, the list, it's a long list.
It is a long
It's
list.
an-
For just that amount of money is a long list.
Well, again, for the $20 and over, we send a letter out, and I go through and I mark them to be sent out, the letters that it's being sent out for Sandra. But if I were to do every person that's in a deficit, there's no doubt I'd be sending out probably 150 letters
A week.
a week.
So
doubt.
once again, I'm going to say, are we sending that envelope home with Friday packets like we used to? That
not
just
sending-
kind of gives a reminder to parents. All it was a manila envelope, a small one, and it said, student, what the check was for.
We aren't sending out the envelope any longer.
But it was just convenient, and maybe that's what some of these folks need, is just that reminder. I really don't know. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not huge money, but it's only November.
We send out, Ruth sends out a fair number of letters, and I end up taking on the ones that are, again, above $20. And again, we set that mark of 20. If it's $19.76, I don't send a letter out.
That's okay.
If it's $20, I do. I just kind of set that line. But I know Ruth is sending out letters also, so I'm not sure that sending out the envelope to go home.
Well, the envelope used to go home to everybody.
Right.
It went home to every child on Friday, and it was just part of their like informational packet that went home, and then got sent back to school
Sure.
on Monday. Because some parents can't afford to pay. They need to pay
Right.
week to week. They can't
Yeah,
afford.
I get it. I understand that.
And I just don't know if maybe, and
Let me see what we have, if we have envelopes left. I guess I'm just not sold on them
and it
being
may not,
responsive to
it may
that.
not be worth it. But I guess I'm wondering like which group is it? Junior high kids that are maybe not using that money and buying a la carte, or I guess I just don't know.
It's across the board.
Okay.
It's, snack milk, it's
So
lunch.
we just have to urge parents to, it's something that we as a
Right.
district can't afford to do, and they just have to, we want to give them different options.
Sure. I will take a look to see what we have for envelopes
Okay.
and make an effort to.
And it's not necessarily an envelope, it's just some form of a reminder. And I hate to say that as a reminder, but it's about convenience. It was just convenience to see that note, and then I could like fill it, leave it on the counter, and they grabbed it, or I put it in their lunchbox on the way out the door.
And I certainly hear you saying that. I'm just not quite sure that the convenience of it would really solve it, only because we're seeing the same
Okay.
over and over. But we'll see what we can do with that envelope, please.
I think as a starting point, instead of going full bore for the full school with the envelope piece, maybe we can look at sending envelopes to those
Target that group, yeah.
those students that are showing this deficit that's justifying a letter, and see if that actually brings in some monies.
Hey, Bob.
What are you getting for a response, Jerry?
Ranges from, oh geez, I'll take care of that too. How dare you send me such a letter?
So you are getting responses?
I'm getting responses.
And that children are getting fed every day.
They are getting fed.
Same meal, no special meals anymore.
Thank you.
I'll start with Andrew.
We're just finishing up, Andrew.
Okay, thank you.
School administration unit, CU 64. Mr. Booth?
Yep. I do have a few items, Mr. Chair. I want to let the board know that I had received a notification from the Department of Education in regard to school approval. This is something every school has to go through every five years. You have to meet the specific minimum requirements for school approval. It's under the ED 306 ed rules. And the Paul School has come back as being conditionally approved currently. What that means is that there were areas among the ED 306 rules that we need to address in order to get full approval. Those two areas are within career education. We have to respond in regard to how are we providing opportunities to learn for students to pursue specific careers. So that's a matter of basically putting it in a narrative as to how we're addressing that as it's whether through guidance or through health class or social studies or any of those other content areas that can be integrated within content areas compared to a specific career education program. So that's one area. The second area is on the health inspection that we need to submit, and we did have the inspector come through and look at the full facility, and there are two areas that we need to address in order to resubmit the health inspection. We had some clutter in an electrical closet that we needed to remove, as well as I believe there was a door jamb that we had to fix. Once those are fixed, the inspector will come back, we'll be issued another report, and then we submit that to the Department of Education. Once they receive that information, we come off that conditionally approved status and go to approved. If there were things that we couldn't address, which I don't feel any of these we can address, you have 3 years to amend any of those areas that have been noted as deficient among the ED 306 rules. So I just want to let the board know that it came back as conditionally approved. However, I don't feel that the areas that we need to address are going to be something that we need to be concerned about in order to send the paperwork back into the DOE to get approval. But I want to make sure the board was aware, because that list is put out. I'm not sure when the list comes out. It's posted on the DOE of school approvals. So when the list comes out, you might see on there that the Paul School is conditionally approved, but you might not, depending on when we get that information in. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that question.
What is your expectation for getting those achieved?
I contacted the state last week to get the specifics on what they're looking for, and I got an email back that they were going to get back in touch with me. I haven't heard that at this point. Once I do, I'll immediately speak to Mr. Gregoire. The principal is the one that submits that information on their online system. So once I have the specifics, we'll get the information and we'll submit it as soon as possible.
Will you keep us up to date on that?
I will.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do you have something else?
I do have a couple items, Mr. Chair. I wanted to let you know that this is in reference to our upcoming discussions with the area board. And I had a conversation the other day with Superintendent Egbert at Governor Wentworth, and she had mentioned that Governor Wentworth would have the capacity to take 20% of our students. So I wanted to make sure the board was aware of that for future conversations around our area agreement. Okay. I also want to make the board aware that next Wednesday, the state and local police will be holding a training on on the lot that we just purchased with some of the abandoned buildings in there. So I just want to make sure the board was aware that if they had heard that there's police cruisers over on the lot, that's what it's for next Wednesday. I also want to let the board know that I did confirm with Marie Banfield that she'll be here on the 20th. I also asked Heather Gage. I've not heard back from her yet, so I just want to make sure the board knew that that'll be on the next agenda per the board's request.
It's November 20th?
November 20th, correct. It's our next board meeting. And last, under my items, I want to give you, as I have been, a residency update for our Spalding students. As of today, we have 8 students remaining that we have to track down residency affidavits out of 179. So plan on following
great.
through with those 8 and making sure that we have all of the residency affidavits that we need.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
You're welcome. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
I'm waiting for the question. Yeah, the question's coming. Get the question coming on. Just waiting. She's 15.
You have 15 left?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very well.
If Anne Marie Banfield can be here and Heather can't, does that negate the meeting and the informational meeting, or? I mean, the whole idea was to have
It was.
a pro and point and counterpoint discussion.
I think it would be best if both could be here. I don't, what's the feeling of the board if only one can make it? Do we want to try to get both of them at the same time, or?
That's the way we talked about it.
I think that's the way we talked about it. And
Right, would it be possible when you're trying to set this up, is maybe get a couple of dates? Well,
I guess I don't even mind that, and I guess I'm wondering if it needs to be like a work session informational push for us, rather than held at a regular meeting, because we're looking for information to get pros and cons to see if we follow it or not. So, and I just don't know if it should be an informational push, so that we can get all the questions and answers that we want, and then we as representatives can answer that back. And I'm not saying that our notes and what have you wouldn't be available, but I think that it needs to be the focus on us so that we can understand moving forward. And I guess I'm concerned that we could get a lot of public here, and then that's going to be really confusing for us. And my questions may not get answered if we take questions from the public at that point in time. And I'm not saying that that's, I don't know if it would be better in an informational work session push.
As opposed to an agenda item.
As opposed to an agenda item. I don't know if, maybe on the 20th, maybe we, I don't know what time you set up, or, I would like to have them both. And if I ask a question, I want to get an answer from both of them. So if we're gonna move forward with that. That's what I would like to see. I don't know if that's what everyone else would like to see.
Yeah, I would like to have both of them.
So maybe we could ask if they could both come, just for, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, and I believe that public input is very important, but if I need to wrap my head around this the way that I've been told I need to, I really need that informational push.
You wouldn't be opposed to having it open to the public, so that, I mean, even though it's the only thing being discussed or being point counterpoint, it would still be open to the public for people who haven't been able to take another opportunity to be educated about it. You wouldn't want to limit.
Not by
public
any way, shape, or
attendance.
form, but I would like the agenda to be solely focused on that. And if it really meant like having them come at 4 and taking over policy, I would be willing to like move policy to a different time so that they could have that hour to educate us.
I'll be willing to set up any way the board would like to have it.
I don't know if an hour is gonna be enough, is it? Anybody here?
I think maybe we need to find out what's going to be both, best for both parties. You know, a date and time where they both can be there. So if the 20th is a good date for both of them and they can be there at 4 and we can get an hour of education, then that's...
Right, but if you're only gonna get part of the story, I'd like to be able to get the whole thing. Is there a way we can ask them, you know, a guesstimate about how long their presentation might be?
I could do that. Again, I haven't heard back from Heather yet, so they might both be able to be here on the 20th. So I'll keep the board posted on that if you like.
Right, I just, yeah, I don't have, I'd rather have both, but I don't know if an hour is gonna be enough.
I don't think it will be.
Some of us have already done our research.
I'm just saying, you know, what their presentation is versus what questions we're gonna ask,
True.
if any.
Right, but then you get to the point, well, what, it's on the internet, so it's gotta be true? I have a problem with believing everything you see on the internet. So as much, because what I've seen on the internet doesn't look very good.
I don't know, I'm not on the internet as much as you, Mr. Brown.
I'm not on it. But, yes, I would like to see both of them, but I think we need to find out how long their presentations are gonna be, and then plan accordingly.
So if I hear back from Ms. Gage that she can do the 20th, and let's say it's 2 hours for a presentation, we could look at, again, that's something, you could look at your board meeting agenda that night and turn it into a work session instead of a full agenda, and give them as much time as they need in the regular board meeting as a work session compared to all the other items of your second board meeting of that month. So you could turn your second board meeting of the month into a work session for that sole purpose, if they're available on the 20th.
Sounds good.
That's a good approach, as far as I'm concerned.
Myself included.
So I'll contact the chair to keep the board posted about the 20th.
All right,
Thank you.
good, is that it? Under SAU 64,
Yes, sir.
old business?
I have a few items. I want to, just as a follow-up, we do have a meeting with the Paraprofessional Association representatives next week regarding their letter request opening up the agreement regarding benefits. So I just wanted the board to know that we will be meeting next week with the Paraprofessional Association. I believe it's on the 13th, at 4:15.
Thursday?
Thursday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah, because we have a budget committee meeting on the 14th,
Mm-hmm.
so it's the 13th?
Yeah, at 4:15. And we've confirmed that Peter can be there with us?
Yes, he will be here. Another item, Mr. DeAgostino has some information. We did bring it to the board, and we just want to follow up on moving the shed. So I know Mr. DeAgostino has some information regarding that.
The town flatbed that they wanted to move it on is as it is, it's flat. It doesn't have a dip in the center where Crowell's does. So the town's flatbed the shed would hit the wires if they use that truck. Whereas with Crowell's, because it has a dip in the center of the truck, it wouldn't hit the wires.
How much?
$250.
$250.
$250 they want us to move it.
Should we call any other contractors that had the same type of a offering? Like, the person that jumps out in my mind is Mark Kimball, who has one of those same type of trailers.
Well, Ben,
I think $250 is pretty affordable, but
What's
I was
his
gonna-
name again?
$250 is reasonable
Yeah.
for that, unless you have your own equipment, forklifts,
Right.
excavators to pick it up with straps and stuff like that, that's affordable.
the person's name was Mark Kimball, but I don't know if we,
I think we could do this forever.
yeah.
I just make a motion to approve the $250 to have the shed moved.
I'll second it.
motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else, Mr. Tursi?
That's all I have under old business.
All right, school board business, school district report information.
I'll speak to this, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
You'll see in your packet that you have on page 38, this is information that goes to the board every year. We put together your school district report, and the board decides the information that's on this, this sheet to determine what goes into that report.
Is there already a final date for submission set up?
No, there's not.
All right, we have time for this, we can, if I get back to this, it'll look
Sure.
it over and
Absolutely, the next meeting if you like. So what I'd found out about this, because I haven't seen this before, is that your first line up there, the school district report material should be sent to, that's a board member that you would choose that this is sent to for the review, as well as, again, you determine your final date for submission, and then it goes to print. That third line as well, who would be the liaison of the board for this information. And then you check off what you would like in there, and any other notes.
Do you have like a synopsis of like the past 5 years of what information's been included and not? I mean, I can go pull all my school district reports, I can, but I didn't know if she already had it in, like, what things are in, what things aren't in.
Yes, I looked at that today, and there's a list that was used for last year. I wanted to see the actual checklist, but we didn't have that. But we did have the list of what was put in last year, but we
get a
didn't have the
copy of
dates
that?
or things like that.
Can we get a copy of that?
Sure.
Perfect.
Again, I don't believe this is pressing, so I can get you some more information on it. Just want to make you aware that this is something that we do need to do at some point.
So we'll put it on the next agenda?
Yeah, we can table it and put it on the next agenda.
but that could change depending on what happens on the 20th.
You can always put it on the end of the meeting.
Committee reports.
Oh, I do have one other item,
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chair. I believe under school board business, we would like to discuss some of the changes that we have put into place on our budget.
Okay.
Unfortunately, on our budget that we had approved approved on Wednesday, that the board had approved last Wednesday, we had found out come Friday via email that the tuition number that was given to us by Rochester to develop our budget was not the correct number. We found that out on Friday. So we need to go back and add the new number, and I can explain specifically what the changes were. Our original, we originally budgeted for tuition at $11,725. The number that came in on Friday was $12,040. That's a difference of $314 per student, and we budgeted in fiscal year 15 budget for 201 students, so that's $63,192 that we would have to come up with that wasn't part of the approved budget on Wednesday. The approved budget on Wednesday had that we were currently under budget from this current fiscal year of $24,018. So when we look at the difference between the $63,192 and the $24,018, we're looking this year, and you can see on page 10 of the budget that we just handed out, it puts our difference from this current fiscal year to our proposed budget for fiscal year 15, that we would be over $39,172 with that change in the tuition.
72 or 74.
So that would put our operating budget at $8,743,382.
Run that by me one more time. 8 million.
Making those changes to tuition, it would put us at $8,743,382, which is a difference of this current fiscal year of $39,172.
174.
Isn't there a state formula? We're told there's a state formula.
For tuition.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on the DOE 25, what each school expenses divided by numbers. There's a whole complicated way they do it that tells you how much each school's tuition should be or what it costs per pupil by each elementary, middle, high school.
So did Rochester's, is their per pupil tuition $12,040.02 too now? Or just Wakefield's?
Well, that should be the rate for their students as well.
It should be the rates for their student as well? And did they give us a reason why it goes up so much?
No.
And had they just not done their budget when they gave us the number to have in our budget?
We were on the understanding that, and I know that Mr. DiAgostino was in touch with their business department regard to when we had to get our budget in, and so we based on the number that was given to us, and then on Friday, we received that information that it actually comes in higher, and that's what the number they're bringing to their board for approval. So we had to make the adjustments to the budget that we'd approved on Wednesday. And I did speak to Superintendent Hopkins, and again, as always, they were very willing to work with us. The number that they actually gave us on Friday was higher than the $12,040, and they were able to come off of that because they gave us the $11,725 earlier on. So they did work with us on that number based on what I considered was an issue at the time.
Anything they can do to get that number to an accurate number to us earlier? If we need it for budget,
I mean, is it something we have to start saying? Is it something we have to start preparing and doing an increase every year?
Well, if you recall, in the original budget, I had projected $12,000 per student,
Yes.
so it was pretty close, but when I got the numbers from Rochester, they told me it was the
We dropped
11,720.
them, and we should have left it alone, huh?
but by doing that, are you opening up the door to say, them to say, well, they're factoring in, X amount of percent increase, so.
I would think that we'd be all on board, but
Well, they had no idea what we budgeted. for tuition. I didn't share that information with them.
No, I'm just saying, if we start, doing an annual increase in it automatically, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you start doing that, that kind of opens,
Well, it has gone up every year since I've been here. And it's inevitable that it's going to go up because your costs go up. Unless the student population changes, it's the only way it would come down. Should I mention that? The 39,000 that we're short right now, I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to make that up when we get the actual medical rates, which I'm supposed to get no later than Tuesday of next week. I went to a school care meeting yesterday, and they promised to have us the rates no later than Tuesday the 12th.
So we can readdress this on the meeting on the 20th, probably, possible?
Yes. Or even the meeting on the 14th with the budget committee. Because we have a meeting tomorrow night and then
We have
next
a meeting
Thursday
tomorrow
night.
night. But at this point, this is what it's gonna look like tomorrow night.
Right. Unfortunately, the budget committee has the budget that we approved on Wednesday night because I had to get this information until after I sent the books to them.
So they're not expecting this expenditure.
So what we will do is, if the board approves this budget tonight with the changes, we will redo the books that go to the budget committee, and unfortunately, we'll have to give that to them tomorrow evening. But again, we didn't receive this information until they had already received those books.
I had a curiosity question. How much does it cost every time we make those pamphlets? Big bucks?
No, we're doing it right at the SAU office.
With the binder and everything? Really? Those are nice binders.
We'll get you an extra.
No. Not if it costs extra.
does anybody want to make a motion? Let's see, we have too much choice on the matter.
We can move to increase that line, but not necessarily the operating budget at this point, or do we have to also increase the operating budget at this point?
You have to increase the
I think you have to do both.
You should do both.
And all you're voting on is bringing the budget to the budget committee. It's not a final number that's going to go on the warrant article.
Yep. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the 2014-2015 budget to go to the budget committee at $8,743,382 with an increase of $39,172. No, wait a minute, that's not the right one.
What?
Yeah, you're right.
With the increase of $63,192 for tuition to Rochester High School. Did I say that right?
What do you do?
You might want to say high school tuition and leave Rochester, because it'll be the same for Governor Wentworth.
Pardon me, Rochester, Spalding High School.
No, just leave it at high school. He's saying, if you don't want to say Rochester, because some kids go to Kingsley.
Okay.
Where the tuition is.
High school tuition.
High school
It's
tuition.
lower,
High school
right?
tuition.
Did you just amend your motion to that?
Yes, Mr. Brown.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anything else, Mr. Thurston?
That's it, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Committee reports? We did meet with the Rochester School Board, and we're going to be setting up a committee to look at increasing, right now, we're allowed to send 10% of the students outside of the district, outside, somewhere else other than Spalding, and we're looking to increase that percentage so that we can send more students to out of the district other than Spalding, And also, that committee is gonna be looking at, the Wakefield School District, joining SAU 54. And then we met with Harriman last week, to do the, site analysis, and they're gonna bring a proposal back to us next week. I believe it's next week, yeah. Next week, next Thursday. Anybody else have anything? All set? Public comment. So,
Yes, how many students the October 1st member for all schools?
I don't have that number on me, Mr. Chair.
I know you said at the SAU meeting or the meeting you had down there, but I couldn't figure out what it was, and then somebody said it was on the website or DOE, and I still can't find the number.
we'll have to get that number to you.
Can you email that to me tomorrow?
I will get the number to you, yes. Actually, I can answer that, Mr. Chair, if you like, because I do recall now. I did, as of an enrollment for November, we're looking at 410 students.
That's the official one that they used at the DOE.
No, that's
No.
the most current number. The one they use at the DOE is off our October 1st numbers.
Right. I remember you saying that it's increased by 15, but I didn't know what the last year's was.
That it? All right. Can we have a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32, A, B, C, and J? Tuition request, resignation, nominations, and retirement.
Make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Clog eye.
Well, then
Brown, yes. Thank you for coming.